win tonight, Coach. How proud of your team are you? It was a real gritty team win.
I mean, I've said this before in the last month or so, we're kind of trending in the right directions in some areas. Our defense work rate tonight was really, really good across the board, and we were quite disciplined in some other areas. And so we're just continuing to just try to build and stack days, and it's a good win on the road. You win anywhere in this league on the road, you're thankful, and we'll just get back to work next week.
There is a lot of games to be played, so you kind of just have to move on to the next one. Bryce Cotton is always, a player of focus. The player next to you, Nick Marshall, did a great job on him. That was obviously a focus for you guys tonight?
Well, we don't really game plan, and I've said this for the last 5 years, we don't really do much game planning about players in general. We handle everyone roughly the same. Our scouts are really very simple at what we do. And so we don't overly focus on too many guys individually other than their individual talent, their tendencies. So for us, obviously he's a major player in this league and has been, and all the kudos, and I was lucky enough to coach him in Perth, and I know what kind of kid he is. And you have to be mindful of him, but collectively as a group we did a good job just in other areas too. So his work rate on him was really, really good, but he had 4 guys behind him pulling the same rope.
Nick, how good does it feel to come back in your hometown and have a game like that?
Yeah, it feels good. But yeah, we just got to keep kind of stacking days now. Season's not over, so we're just still stacking, trying to get better.
Yeah, that was an amazing performance by yourself. There was that incident on the sideline. Is there anything you guys may not want to talk about it, but is there anything you can kind of talk about that in the end there as well?
I'm not really sure what happened yet.
Fair enough. Scott, they didn't have a huge impact on this game, but also someone who's come back to his hometown here is Machuk, Deng.
Yep.
And I know he's amazing influence in the Sudanese Australian community and a role model. I believe, I might be wrong, that he captained while Magnay was out for a little bit.
Well, actually, while Drimmick was out, he's our vice captain and subbed in for Drimmick for the 3 months that Drim has been out and stuff. But I love Machuk Deng, and I told him after this game I love him. I always tell him I love him. His story is his story, and he's just a hell of a human being. And that's what I love about him. A great father, and just mindful of who he is and what he does. And I love him to death.
One other thing to note, you've been really good over the last month, 6 wins and 3 losses. You've been first in defensive rating, but also first in offensive rebounding rate, which I would think would be pretty hard to do, to be able to go in the O-glass like that and also get back in D. Can you just talk to us about that kind of performance over the last month?
Yeah, again, it's just, our work rate's been better, but our concentration level of getting better and also getting healthy and getting guys back and getting in tune. And, Adelaide hasn't had any injuries this entire year that was, lengthy kind of injuries like we've gone through and every other single team is going through. And so when you start to get your guys slowly back and DJ gets his feet underneath him and now Machuk Deng comes back from his hamstring and then, Magnay's missed a few games here and there, it's nice to just have the group together. And we continue to just do what we do and keep things quite simple in what we do as far as how we practice and how we go about our business. And our formula is quite simple, really. Just do what we do and try to repeat it in the simplest ways possible.
Yeah, Scott, I'll start with you. I think that's the best defensive performance we've seen from a team all season, and you don't necessarily need to comment on that part, but what was key to shutting a team down like that with such offensive firepower to, only 11 points in the second quarter, 27 for the first half, and 72 for the game? What was the key to it?
Well, I think, again, I've said it many times, the 3 ball's this great equalizer in professional basketball in the last X amount of years, and it's obviously a huge factor in FIBA basketball, and so we've been quite mindful of trying to do the best we can and defend the 3 ball. It is the great equalizer and or the ones that, you can go on a quick little run and put you behind, and so we've heavily concentrated on trying to take those away. You can't take them all away. And then I think the other thing is just our foul discipline over the last month has been much, much better. Last time we played these guys, I think it was 33 and 37 times they went to the line in the first 2 games. And that foul discipline will always come back to haunt you. And just these little things that we are continuing to harp upon about repeating on the defensive side, and just trying to keep things as simple and basic as we possibly can, is just guard your yard and keep the ball in front of you.
I don't think they took their first free throw until early in the third quarter, which is, backing up what you're saying. And your own free throws as a team, there was a point there in the game I was going to ask you about that being a constant problem, but then how important was it for Josh at the end of that game? He's had his own struggles there to hit those four in the clutch moment. How important could that be for him moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, his history has been he's been not a great foul shooter, but above average without question. And you have to trust the fact that he's doing the work and he's doing all the things he needs to do in our practices. Same with Magne, and you have to trust what they're doing. And the way to break a confidence is to take him out of a game at the end of the game because you think he can't make a foul shot. And so he's a good enough shooter at the foul line to shoot in the mid 70s to high 70s, and that's where he usually is living. And he's had a few struggles here and there, but seeing those go in late in the game as they did is, I'm sure, a really good morale booster for him.
And just to you, Nick, when you're sitting there now, how are you feeling after chasing around Bryce for a lot of that game? But at the same time, and I know it's a team effort, like Scott said, but when you do look down at the stat sheet and see that the best player we might have ever seen in the league, shot 5 of 18 for this game, only had 15 points, and probably had his quietest game almost of the season. How are you feeling post-match?
Yeah, it feels pretty good to get the win. But again, I had 4 guys behind me helping me, and we had a good game plan kind of going into it. So credit to my teammates really helping me do all that.
What about just the fact that Scott is willing game after game to give you the biggest defensive assignments for this team? How much confidence does it give you, and how much are you learning by being given these roles on all these great players?
Yeah, it feels good to be out there and getting the opportunity. But yeah, it's just keep kind of stacking days and keep trying to learn as much as I can. It's been good this season. I've learned a lot, so it's been helping me as a player. But yeah, I credit my teammates for helping me and putting me in the positions to do the things I do.
I will say, Chris, I'll just jump in there on him. He came kind of with us with maybe the tag of not a very good defender in general, and could shoot the ball and maybe not as defensive minded as maybe people would assume he would be. And his due diligence for the last 4 or 5 months with studying, he's a note taker. He's in every meeting writing down his notes. He's on video. He's on the iPads. He's in the coach's office. His work rate off the floor of learning has been tremendous. And obviously having, some other good players around him that understand the defense too. But from where he was, 4 months ago to where he is now, he is our guy that we put on the best players in general to go harass them and give them as much problems as possible. And he's really morphed into a really, really nice player at that end of the floor for us.
Well, Nick, let me follow up from that. Sometimes hard work pays off. I mean, you're pretty proud of yourself that you've put in the hard work that's now showing on the court.
Yeah, for sure. It feels good, obviously. But yeah, I'm still trying to get better, still trying to learn. And we're trying to win a championship. So I'm just trying to do my part and help the team do that.
Well, speaking of that as well, I mean, Scott keeps talking about this team's a work in progress, and you're clearly heading in the right direction. This is a statement win. I think, like I said, I think it's the best performance we've seen against Adelaide just about all season. I mean, what do you think this team's capable of? And be careful because Scott's sitting next to you.
Well, I think we can.
He knows better.
Yeah, I think we can win a championship. So we just keep getting better, keep growing as a team, and keep learning. So we just got to keep stacking days. Yeah.
And what did you see that you liked, Scott, just in terms of the group getting to freshen up a little bit? We talked about that hectic schedule when you had 6 days before this game. Now you've got another pretty good stretch before you play over in Perth. How did you see your team, I guess, with a little bit?
Yeah, I think we had a rough 4 days back at home. We gave them some time off, but we didn't have 2 very good practices before we came down here. We were very rough around the edges and sloppy in some areas, but I think the break was good for us in general, and we'll have another this is probably the last one until the season's over with 3 or 4 more days before we head to Perth. And for us, like I said, you can spin those breaks any way you want to, good or bad for your team. But we work extremely hard during the break, and we don't give a lot of days off, and guys have to show up, and we'll just go back to work again when we get back home. And a few guys got some rest, and we'll get a few more days of rest for some of these guys that are carrying just some small injuries. And we'll just go back to work and put our best foot forward and worry about Monday when we get to Monday.
Thanks very much, and I'll see you when you get here.
All right, Chris. Thanks, buddy. All right. See y'all. Thank you.